Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. You join us for this live stream and you can get our live reactions of the brand new home shirt which was released today, as well as talking about some rumbling transfer saga news. But before we get into that, let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome Joe. Joe, my friend, how are you?
All good, mate. The anticipation has finally subsided, and the hits are here, and I'm very happy. Or am I? We'll find out. Dun, dun, dun. But
Tune
no, I'm
in
good.
next time.
How
No,
are you?
don't tune
How are you, Tom? How was your drive back from Sussex yesterday?
It was long. Actually, it wasn't long at all. I'm looking at, and I've got Dagan here who regularly travels many more hours than me to get places. But no, it felt like a long time. And all the way back in the car, I was thinking, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. But I did go to work tomorrow today. But yeah, I would say I'm happy to be back up north, but that is not the case. But less about that, more about Dagan. Dagan, my friend, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. Excited the shirt is here. Eagerly awaiting now the goalkeeper shirts. But I was thinking about the travel as you were speaking. I will spend 24 hours in the to and from to get to the two games that I will be attending. 4 hours each way to Philly, 8 hours each way to Atlanta. That is 24 hours of driving. And I'm most excited to see the Albion for the first time.
That is commitment, Dagan. It makes me moaning about being in a car for like 4.5 hours seem really, really pathetic. And we also welcome on the show today Maxwell. Maxwell, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right, Tom. Can't complain. It's quite cold in Zambia, but apart from that, I'm pretty good.
What's
Great stuff.
cold? What's cold in Zambia?
Oh, we are in what you would call the winter right now, so it's quite cold on this side of the world right now.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I'd imagine is your cold a lot warmer than what our cold would be. I'd imagine.
a lot warmer. There's no snow, so that's a plus. Yeah, but it's not too bad. It's like 8 degrees ish when it's really bad, but we're used to warmer weather, so it's you can feel the cold.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 8 degrees. That's like Britain's spring. But thank you so much for joining us today, Max. For those of you who don't know, Max is a Zambian Chelsea fan, but he's also he's come on the show today to touch to us a little bit about the Colwill Caicedo transfer saga, and is also going to join us in talking about the brand new Brighton shirt, which we will talk about now. Let's talk about it then. So it was released today. A lot of build up. Admin, the Brighton and Hove admin was, I would say, trolling, but they were very much sort of every day. There was a brand new post saying that it's not coming out today. It's not coming out today. And underneath it, you'd have lots of people moaning, and then you'd have people moaning about people moaning, and then you'd have people moaning about people moaning about people moaning, and it was all this sort of, oh, how dare grown men want to buy a football shirt? How dare they enjoy football shirts? And here's a live stream where some men talk about football shirts. Joe, you were eagerly anticipating this. What was your initial reaction to when you first saw the shirt?
It was, oh, really? Is that it? And then I looked at it more, and I was like picking faults with it because I didn't get that. And it, like with the away shirt, I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, they have released an all-time classic. This is unbelievable. The home shirt has to follow this. The home shirt hasn't followed it. It's like the more I look at it, the more faults I find. And I don't know if that's just because I'm a perfectionist with shirt designs and stuff like that. But the off-center blue stripe down the middle really annoys me. The neckline pointing directly to it, so your eyes are directly drawn to the off-center line, really annoys me. The massive American Express thing really annoys me. So as you can tell, Tom, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Um, thank you for joining us today, guys, in this live stream. Some comments coming in already. Michael has said that he quite likes it, but he thinks Joe has better designs. Michael, I am inclined.
Sign me up,
to agree with
Nike
you.
and official Brighton and Albion. Sign me up.
It's for me, Dagan, it just screams Nike template kit. Not much originality, nothing particularly special. What was your initial reaction to when you saw it?
I warmed to it a little over the past few hours, but not much. It was sort of a I don't love the way the shoulders look a separate part from the rest of the shirt in the same way the shirt behind you does, but I think the stripes, the narrower stripes really accentuate that and make it more stark. I don't love the navy on the sleeves. I get now that the text for the name and the number are going to be that navy color, so it makes a little bit more sense. But visually from the front, it's like, what is that random bit of navy there, and why is it there? And it's sort of a newer color from the shirts I've seen to be on a home shirt. So yeah, overall, just sort of meh. And I don't think looking at all the nice mock-ups helps any, because your sort of expectations of like, oh, it could look like that. That would be amazing. And then you get the real thing and it's not quite as good. For me, I'm not in the position of you guys. You guys like have almost every shirt. There are so many shirts I don't have. I may pursue a different older home shirt rather than buy this year's home shirt. And then maybe I'll collect that one sometime in the future. But for now, I think I'm going to pursue what I say, 21-22 home shirt. I really like, with all of the stripes down the sleeves. I like that one.
Yeah, that's probably our best Nike shirt, in my opinion. Maxwell, as a complete neutral, as someone who's not a Brighton Hove Albion fan, who's not swayed this way or that, what do you make of it as from a purely, how do you think it looks?
Well, I'm kind of a little bit of a jersey collector myself, but yeah, it just feels a little bit too generic. The first thing that came to mind when I saw it was I think it was 2019. All I remember is Aaron Connolly scoring against Spurs in it, the one that was a little bit darkish. Yeah, that's the memory that it spiked. So I don't know. I prefer the away kit much more than this one. It just feels like a safe bet from Nike.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest. Because I had
Tom, I would say it's a safe bet gone wrong. Because like they could have just done nice simple stripes and not have it off center, but for some bizarre reason they've tried to be different and they've gone off center, and that's the one you're on about. Yeah, that's a nice shirt. The one Dagan's showing on screen, that is lovely. I loved what they did with the stripes. Perfect. But yeah, really it was good, yeah. It's as Maxwell said, it's a sorry attempt from Nike, but gone wrong.
Welcome to the show, Curtis. Welcome, Jason. We're just talking about the brand new home shirt. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. We'd love to hear what you make of it. So far, it has been a very meh sort of response from us today on the channel. I think that's probably was my initial reaction. I don't hate it, but I don't particularly like it. And it was something that We Are Brighton posted on Twitter, and now I can't get the image out of my head. It looks like the cape from Adam West's Batman, and I can't get that image out of my head. It's for me, the stripes, yeah, I get it. That doesn't really work for me. And then it's the sleeves, this bit here. And I think why that bit doesn't work for me is because it's all blue. And I did bring a prop. I think if they had done, yes, that's the one. Thank you, We Are Brighton. If they had done something like this from the 1993 shirt, where, as you can see, you've got the dark blue after. If they'd done something like this, just to finish off the sleeve with a bit of stripe, I would have really liked that. That would have been a bit of a saving grace for me. But for me, it's our first European shirt, and it is just meh. So I would give it a solid 5 out of 10. No, I'd give it a 4 out of 10 because it's a boring Nike template shirt. So 4 out of 10 for me. Because it's not terrible, it's not brilliant, but it's just, as you say, a boring, safe Nike shirt that doesn't inspire me to want to get out there and buy it, he says, having gone out and bought it. So, yes, I know, terrible. We've got someone here who's given it a 7 out of 10. Fair play. Let us know your thoughts below. Why does it make a 7 out of 10 in your opinion? Because at the end of the day, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know, everyone is going to see it slightly differently, and that's absolutely fine. This is a safe space. If you want to share your kit ratings, be they 0, be they 10, let us know. Oh, the one thing I really like the Nike tick. I like that. And I was happy to see no yellow on there at all. Another big plus from me. So yeah, a lot of people coming in now with the comments. Andrew saying not sure about the shirt. It's very different, but I think it could be better. Yeah, agree. Jason, I'm personally not a lover of V-necks and also agree with the stripes off center and not a great look. Even the tick just looks like it blends too much. And there was me saying I liked the tick. I'd say it's a huge upgrade on last season's, and I like the yellows gone. Yeah, I agree. I wasn't a huge fan of the incorporation of yellow. Now, Joe, you sort of had some quite positive things to say about last season's home shirt. What do you prefer, last season's or this season's?
Last season's. Easy. Yeah, a lot of people slate the yellow, and whilst I can take it or leave it, I think it adds something different, and we always cry out for Nike to do something different. Whether it works or not is another thing, and I think it worked quite well last season. And I think last season's shirt will be looked on fondly, obviously considering the season that we had. It's a very historic shirt now, in my opinion. So I was really happy with last season. So yeah, I would have taken something similar without the yellow this season. Maybe, as I keep saying, centered stripes, so it's not confusing to look at. And it's really annoying because I like the fact that they've gone like sort of all blue with the shirt with the white on it as well, with no like red or yellow included. And that's why it's a little bit frustrating that it's not a very nice shirt, in my opinion, because they could have done so much with it. And as you say, Tom, the Nike tick is really nice. It's really smart. The colours themselves are perfect for a Brighton shirt. So it's just a little bit disappointing.
A bit basic, if you kind of get my drift. Now, Dagan, Joe mentioned a really good point. Sometimes it's not about the aesthetics of the shirt, but it's the memories that are made whilst it's being worn. Do you think our initial sort of reaction to it might be placated if Brighton have a successful season?
Certainly, right? I mean, the things that surround a memory can shape the memory to be better than it maybe actually was, right? We can remember the fond holiday amidst some traumatic times. So let's hope that it's remembered for the greatness that it brings on the pitch, and less so for the initial meh reaction. Because I think I would imagine that's been the case many times before. The yellow shirt of ill repute may have been well received initially by some, but now sort of lives in infamy as far as I know.
Yeah, you're right. That yellow shirt is believed to be cursed, but I still think it's a really nice shirt. So there you go.
I was showing my collection off to one of my mum's foster kids that she was looking after today, and he pulled out the yellow one as if to say, "Oh, I really like this one." And you're right, Dagan. That was, for me anyway, really well received when that came out. And as he pulled it out, it was met with a from me because of what it, I think we won one game in it and maybe got 2 Premier League points out of it. So yeah.
Again, it goes back to the memories that are made whilst wearing that shirt. Now, Maxwell, here we are talking about shirts. We're talking about Brighton shirts. Is there a particular Chelsea shirt for you that you look at and you think you have really fond memories and think, yeah, that was brilliant, and on the polar opposite, really negative memories?
Well, I think my favorite is the 2012 Champions League winning shirt. Yeah, I remember, like the good memories that it brought. I had one, got stolen, had to replace it. So yeah, I really like that one. I think, the person who took it as well must have been a big Chelsea fan as well. So yeah, that one brings back fond memories. And the one that I like the least, I really liked last season's jersey, but I didn't like the memories that came with it. So I'll put it at the bottom of my list for now.
You are so welcome.
Yes, and it looks, Maxwell, like Chelsea and Brighton's relationship, for want of a better phrase, isn't quite over yet, with Chelsea reportedly the main club that is likely to get Moises Caicedo this summer. This mixture of reports, some reports saying that talks have been going on for weeks, others saying that they're sort of happening in drips and drabs. In terms of Moises Caicedo, Maxwell, does the prospect of signing him excite you as a Chelsea fan?
Extremely, extremely. Yeah, I'm in the Chelsea community. It's well known that we've lacked a defensive midfielder for quite a long time, and it's kind of affected us quite a lot. So signing Caicedo is kind of like he's the ideal player that we need besides Enzo Fernandez, who we spent so much money on. So it's I think, for me personally, the transfer window hinges on the success of signing Caicedo. If we don't, I think we'll be in big trouble this season. If we do, then my optimism going into the season is going to skyrocket.
That's really interesting, Maxwell. Really interesting indeed. So, do you think then that, considering how important you perceive him to perhaps be to Chelsea's success this season, do you think the rumoured £100 million is a fair asking price, considering what Declan Rice has just gone for, or do you think that it's overinflated?
Um, well, I think for people who know me, they know I'm not somebody that likes to, dwell on prices. I think, when it comes to transfers, the value that the selling club puts on a player is that player's value. And I think even to ourselves, if you're getting a 21-year-old midfielder, he's been to the World Cup, he's probably gonna sign one of those crazy 8-9 year contracts that we've been handing out. So you're gonna have him well until he's 30. So it seems like a worthy investment for me, because let's say you buy a 26-year-old defensive midfielder, within 5 years his value has dipped, but Caicedo is going to have value well into you know his the prime of his career and reaching 30 years old. So I'd say just pay the money.
Now, one other thing, Maxwell, that could potentially suit both parties very well is last season, as I know you're aware, Levi Colwill had a successful loan stint with Brighton and Hove Albion, endeared himself very fondly to the fans, who would absolutely love to have him back. Roberto De Zerbi, our coach, has been very open and said that he wants to work with him for a number of years. As a Chelsea fan, do you want to keep hold of Colwill, or would you be okay with him being a part of any deal for Caicedo?
Colwill has to stay. By all means, Colwill has to stay. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, he's an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. And, again, he's what, 20, 21 years old. That's a player that is going to carry you well through his 20s, probably halfway through his 30s as well. He's that good. And, you hear all these reviews of how so many coaches want him. Man City want him, Liverpool want him. So it's not even to say, with all due respect, the likes of Brighton that want him, even the Premier League champions and Champions League winners, they all want him. So that just shows how big of a prospect he is and how good of a player he is right now. So he's not a player that I want to lose by any means possible. I'd even walk away, I think, maybe from Caicedo if Brighton say, it's Colwill plus money or nothing. He's that important. We have Thiago Silva, he's 38 going on 39. That left centre back spot is his for the taking. So we can't afford to lose him.
Thank you, Maxwell, for that, honest and insightful opinion from a Chelsea perspective. Because Joe, it's very easy for us to sit here as Brighton fans and sort of say, if you want Caicedo, you have to give us Colwill. Do you see the pursuit of other defensive options a sign that perhaps Brighton are looking at, for want of a better phrase, cheaper alternatives or players at a better value?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? Because there's so many different sources saying all sorts of different things. That obviously Colwill is still our top target defensively, and that the club are confident that he wants to return. And you've got other sources saying no, Brighton are looking elsewhere now and are steps away from signing Igor from Fiorentina, who would, from what I've seen of him, be that Colwill replacement, because he's a very similar player, and yeah, he's a little bit older, but I think he could fill that role quite nicely from what I've seen, and I haven't seen much of it. Maxwell's watched him much more than I have, so maybe we can get an idea on him a little bit later. But it's just such a frustrating one from a fan's perspective, watching all this saga, take place, because we don't know what's going on with our star midfielder. We don't know who's going to fill that Colwill-shaped void if we don't get Colwill in. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this does play out, because I'm sure both clubs want some sort of deal done as soon as possible. With pre-season coming up, the season is literally around the corner. It's less than a month away now. So these deals have to be getting wrapped up. The squad have to be getting together and getting ready for a massive season from both ends. Obviously, Chelsea with the new manager with Pochettino, and us prepping for our first season in Europe. So I'm sure this saga will draw to a close within the next week or so.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. It is one of those where I'm really fed up of seeing it on my newsfeed on Twitter, especially. Now, Dagan, the US tour starts very, very soon. Caicedo looks to be a part of that tour, flying from Ecuador to join up with the club in the States. Is that, for you, is that a good sign? Does that give you perhaps more hope that he potentially will stay? Because for me, every day that kind of it keeps rumbling on, I get slightly more confident that he will stay.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable position, Tom. I'm obviously excited to get to see him in a Brighton shirt right before he's gone. Perhaps maybe that, I don't know, that will make it any less heartbreaking when he does. You guys have known all season that I've felt like he was our most important player. To Maxwell's point, I think with Pochettino's system, he is going to be the most important player for Chelsea. He may not be the best player for Chelsea, but I think he'll be the most important to that system working. And I think you're wise to think if you don't get him and some of the other CDM options aren't there, that's a real gap. And looking at the 29-man roster that Chelsea's sending over, that includes Levi Colwill, but doesn't have Badiashile. Fofana apparently has picked up a knee injury. Colwell's going to probably get plenty of time to see where he fits, but it won't be the full pecking order of Chelsea players. But I am really excited to see Moises play in person. I think it's just going to come down to whether someone meets our price or offers us a player and a figure that we're excited about, whether that's Arsenal comes in with an offer of, Balogun and 50 million for Caicedo, or Chelsea comes in with an offer of 100 million or 50 million plus Colwill, or whatever it might be. But I think if Bloom's valuation's met, Caicedo will go. And if it's not, he won't. And so I think to your point, the longer he stays, the window of time where that valuation can be met, at least in this window, starts to close and close and close, and the likelihood that he stays increases.
Yeah, I think a lot was made about this apparent pact between Caicedo and the club when he re-signed the contract. I do think it is worth just remembering that Tony Bloom didn't become a potential billionaire from letting his assets just walk off for relatively cheap. Of course not. The man is very astute when it comes to money. I don't doubt for a second that there is some sort of agreement in place with Caicedo that if an offer is favourable, we will not stand in his way if he wants to leave the club, similar to Alexis McAllister, similar to Basuma, and many other players and members of the team. We won't stand in his way. But as you say, Dagan, that has to be met. And I just think, as Jason has just, Jason, you must be reading my mind, because with European experience, if he does well in Europe, his evaluation will just go up and up and up and up. And it may well be that he is priced out of a move. And to some outside fans, that may be considered unfair. But, to coin a phrase from, that our American friends like to use, he is the MVP. He is the most valuable player in our team behind Lewis Dunk, in my opinion. Dunk's
Tom,
up there. He's the captain.
I've got a question for you. There's a lot of suggestions from outside fans that if we stand in the way of Caicedo, it sets a precedent to other young players coming in to us and us not letting them move on. Do you think that gives us that reputation, or do you think those young players still will want to come and play for Brighton and Hove Albion?
No, because I think there's more incidences where we've not stood in the way of staff, personnel, players than this one case. I mean, you could throw back and say, well, actually, no, look at Dunk. Dunk put in a transfer request all those years ago. We said no. Stevens put in a transfer request. We said no. There is incidences where that has happened, but the club has always been, we're not privy to what happens behind closed doors, but I always get the impression that it's a case of, in that regards to like Stevens and Dunk, we want to get promoted. Give us a season, give us 2 seasons, see where we're at. And if we're not where we promise you that we're going to be, then fair enough. I just think.
But do you think if there is that pact that we're talking about, do you not think the club might have said to Caicedo, get us to Europe and then we'll listen to offers? Or
even then, that pact works both ways, because if in that pact, whatever it may look like, they've explicitly said a club has to meet our evaluation, then Caicedo has to accept that. You can't try and force out a low bid. But again, from what Caicedo has actually said, or has been quoted in the media as actually saying, he likes Brighton. He enjoys playing for Brighton. He's spoken very highly about the coaching staff. He's spoken very highly about Bloom and Barber. So I don't think he's unhappy here at all. I think most of the talk is probably coming from agents. We know it was an agent that posted that Instagram post, or at least typed it out, told Caicedo what to say in January. And let's be honest, the agent here doesn't necessarily have the player's best interests at heart. It's all about financial side of things, because Chelsea, there is no doubt at all that there's no argument here whatsoever. Chelsea can pay Caicedo more than we ever could imagine. We can't do that because it would break our wage structure, and that's one thing that Chelsea can definitely offer Caicedo that we can't. And for an agent, that is a big payday, big payday. So of course he's probably thinking, let's tell Fab that yeah, talks are ongoing. He wants to leave. But from Caicedo's perspective, everything he said has been really positive about Brighton. So I don't for a second think that young players are going to look at Caicedo and go, oh, I don't want to come here. They'll look at Julio and Ciso. They'll look at Evan Ferguson. They'll look at Facundo Buonanotte and say, ooh, I can get first team minutes in a Premier League team that are fighting at the right end of the table.
Yeah, exactly that. Can I get Maxwell's opinion on Caicedo with regards the agent side of things? And as well, the other thing was a lot of our fans are saying, why would Caicedo go to Chelsea this season? Because you're not playing European football, and we've got that sort of pull, if you like, to offer him that competition to play on that stage and to, push himself even more, maybe to like Real Madrid level. So what's your sort of stance on, first of all, his agents pushing for Arsenal, now pushing for Chelsea, and as well our fans saying, actually, money aside, we can offer him more on a football basis?
Well, with agents like Tom said, they're really, for most of them, they're really not looking after, like the career of the player. They're thinking about, this one big transfer, and they're looking at, a transfer that probably goes up to what, 100 million. So that's a huge payday for them. So that's where they're looking for. One moment they could be trying to get him to Arsenal. The next moment, they could be, peddling information in the media that pushes a move to Chelsea. So, you can't expect loyalty from any side when it comes to agents. Yeah, so that's just the name of the game. In terms of him having, he did on where he goes this season and why. Well, I think for a 21-year-old, 21-year-old, you know, being in Europe this season might not be as big of a deal because he could be back in the Champions League with Chelsea next year. It could be wherever they finish, Europa League and the like. So, it's not do or die. I think if it were, 30-year-old Lewis Dunk, this is, this is the year to experience Europe. So for him, I think he's got the privilege to make a decision that's not just clouded by what he does this season. In terms of where he's better off, I think he gets a good deal either way. He stays at Brighton, he's at a club where he's comfortable, they'll be in Europe, and his stock could rise even further. And if he goes to Chelsea, he gets a good wage, I guess, which seemed to be a big deal for him, based on that statement in January. So yeah, he gets a good wage. It's an exciting project. I know things look really doom and gloomy at Chelsea right now, but judging from the way so many players that are joining are speaking about it, it does seem like it's an exciting project, and it's with a manager who's got a proven track record of like helping young players kick into next gear. So I think it's a win-win for him wherever he ends up.
Yeah, that's to be fair, that's a well-reasoned argument there. I think that you're probably right in terms of his age. He still has that on his side. So, going to Chelsea, if that was his destination, not playing in Europe next year perhaps isn't as big a deal for him because he knows that he'll probably end up there one day anyway. Because I think, we have to be, as Brighton fans, we have to be honest with ourselves here. Chelsea had a bad season last season, but it is a blip. Chances are they're going to be up there back in the top six soon, if not next season, certainly the season after. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we don't sort of acknowledge that. So, it's a win-win situation for him either way. He either gets to play in Europe with us, even if it's just for an extra season, or he gets to go to Chelsea, whilst they push on and, try and, better themselves. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, we're terrible, terrible people. Thank you for your insight. Jason, it's all a game of chess. You have to make that right move. Yeah, who knows what that move will be. I'm hoping no matter what happens, what the outcome is, I just want it to be over soon. Not because I want to rush through it, but because I just want. If Caicedo goes, we need to obviously get in a replacement. We need to obviously bed in that new replacement to a new style of play. If Colwill's not going to be part of that, then we need to chase that left-footed centre-back option. So there's lots of sort of gears that are going all at the same time. And I'm sure the club are sort of, working on it behind the scenes. So yeah, that's sort of like my insight on it. It's just, I'm fed up of talking about it now, gents, to be honest.
One element that's also probably attractive to Moises, right? There's no competition for his role in Chelsea. He's going to get all the time he wants.
Yeah.
That's not true of Colwill, who has a secure position at Brighton as a starter, but as he goes to Chelsea, is going to be in a bit of a competition with Badiashile, who's come in, high paid. He's a new signing. They aren't going to completely write him off and put him out of the rotation. It's really interesting to me that he's not on the trip with them. And it makes me wonder, what's happening behind the scenes, and could they be looking to move him to placate Colwill to make him feel like, no, this is your spot, without a doubt. What do you think about that, Maxwell? I wanted to get your take on Badiashile not being on the trip to the States.
Well, I hate to call someone being injured a blessing in disguise, but it kind of has come at an opportune moment where we're trying to convince Colwill that he has a role in the team, and he's going to start. In short, he's going to start on Wednesday. He's probably going to start against you guys on Saturday. So yeah, it kind of just means he goes straight into the team and he kind of gets a feel of it. Hopefully he likes it, and just maybe to comment a little bit further on it. From the outside, for most of us Chelsea fans were quite calm about the situation, because at the end of the day, Cole has like 2 years left on his contract with a club option to extend for a third year. So we don't have our hands tied behind our backs like with the Mason Mount situation. So he might say, I want to go, but at the end of the day, the decision lies with us. And it just depends on, I guess, the morality of our board, in the sense of, do we keep a player that clearly doesn't want to be here, or do we keep this player here because we know his value, and if we let him go, we're gonna regret it. So yeah, that's how I see that.
That sounds strikingly similar to our position with Caicedo, who signed through 2028.
Yeah, it is very similar. It's funny, isn't it? And Maxwell, another player that, depending on how Poch sets up, if he sets up in a back three or a back five or whatever you want to call it, another player that can also play in that left centre back role, as Brighton saw to great effect, that Chelsea fans unfortunately didn't, was Marc Cucurella. What did you make of his season last season? Because as a Brighton supporters, he was our player of the season. He was excellent. He had a wobble. I say a wobble. It took him a couple of games to sort of get into the swing of the Premier League. But once he sort of had that momentum, he was just so good. So as a Brighton fan looking in at Chelsea, it was really shocking to see how poor he was for you.
Um, well, I think Joe knows I'm quite the globetrotter when it comes to how much football I watch. So I've been a fan of Cucurella since, I think, Iba, when he was at Iba, a good 6 odd years ago. And when he was at Brighton, and there was the rumors of maybe Man City, maybe Chelsea. I absolutely wanted him to come to Chelsea. And when he did come, unfortunately, things didn't go that well. I still have faith in him. I know his abilities as a player. And, within our fan base, people have kind of prejudged him based off last season, when, practically the entire team was poor last year. So I wouldn't judge him too much on last season. He might not be the archetypal Pochettino fullback, in the sense that he's not really the greatest creative wise or goal scoring like some of the other fullbacks that we have. But I feel like it's such a good advantage to have one fullback in Ben Chilwell, who is great attacking, and then you have another fullback who is Cucurella, who is fit, he's versatile, he is great defensively, because let's be honest, we're not always going to be attacking. There's some games that you want someone who is a little bit more reserved in terms of how much they bomb forward. So I really appreciate Cucurella. I don't take well to the rumors of us possibly letting him go after 1 year. I feel like he deserves a second year in the team, and yeah, I'm all for him. I quite like him.
Decent. Now, I'd also like to get your opinion then, Max, on Brighton's apparent target in Igor, or Igor. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Joe mentioned that you know a bit about him. So, assuming then that Brighton don't get Colwill for one reason or another, do you think that Igor is a good replacement?
I think he's a great replacement, to be honest. I watched quite a bit of Fiorentina, and when you look at him physically, because he's a big guy, people think, he's just a no-nonsense defender, butchy guy, but he's actually quite good on the ball. He's great driving with the ball, which is, Joe mentioned he's like for like with Colwill. He's great at driving with the ball. He's good with passing. Fiorentina kind of play a little bit similar to you guys in the sense that there's all that passing triangles between the center backs and the central midfielders, and that means when he comes to you guys, or if he does come to you guys, he's going to fit right into that style. So I think he's quite a good player. He's fast for his size as well. So uh, kudos to Brighton. I guess in the Premier League, only you guys could have, gone to Syria and spotted, a guy like him, and probably he's gonna come and be a success. So I'm quite excited for you guys.
He's just selling him because he doesn't want us to take Colwill. So he's like, yeah, he's fine. You guys are gonna love him. Don't you worry. We'll
Ma-
have Colwill, but you enjoy him.
Maxwell, what jumped out at me watching tape this week on him? He doesn't seem to have the near elite in the air ability that Colwill has. Colwill's really special at winning the ball in the air. Is that a fair critique? And I understand maybe that's because he's newer to the position, Igor.
Yeah. I guess he's quite a big guy. Like, he's 6'1", I think, 6'1", somewhere there. But it's not when you're talking about competing in the air in a league like Serie A, where you have the biggest players probably in Europe or Europe's top 5 leagues. It's not so easy. So I think it's not something that he can be judged too harshly on, especially also that he has a 6'4" defender right beside him at Fiorentina, and you'll probably have something similar as well in Dunk at Brighton. So it's not something that you can worry about. I think he's competent in the air, not the greatest as Dagan says, but I don't think it's like an outstanding weakness, if I may say.
Decent.
Like,
I think I'd be quite happy to have Igor. I mean, rumors of a 4-year deal, are sort of picking up the pace, which has led, obviously, as I say, some Brighton fans to sort of reluctantly accept that perhaps Colwill isn't, on the cards. But then again, conflicting reports say that Colwill is still that number one priority target for Brighton. So it's going to be really interesting to see how both of these things develop. Jason says RDZ will sprinkle his magic and Chelsea will buy him for 90 million next season. Quite possibly, Jason. I think, and that's the thing. If Roberto De Zerbi thinks that Igor is good enough for his system, for me, that seals the deal. I'm in 100%. And at Albion Obsessed, we haven't really talked much about the new signings. We've got a brand new goalkeeper and Big Bart, as we are referring to him now. Obviously, James Milner, who has come in, and my brother-in-law met James Milner at Starbucks the other day, and he said he was very big man. And then, and then of course the Who as well. So there's a lot of exciting things happening at Brighton, and I think the transfer window is just getting started for us. Which leads me to think about Big Bob Sanchez. Now I mentioned Big Bart, because there were rumours, Maxwell, about Chelsea potentially being interested in Sanchez, but I think that was more of a tenuous link to Ben Roberts and his time at Brighton. If that was the case, Maxwell, would someone like Big Bob Sanchez, would he sort of come with the sort of an acceptance there? Would you be happy with that sort of signing?
um well, I feel like I feel like he personally, well, at Chelsea, I'm quite exhausted of Kepa Arrizabalaga. I've been tweeting about wanting a new goalkeeper for a while, but I want someone who can be our number one for quite some time. Watching, sorry, I forget his name again. Watching Sanchez in the Premier League, especially last season, sometimes it just felt like he had a mistake in him. Uh, he's a good keeper, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking more for an elite keeper rather than just somebody who might come in and compete with Kepa, but not really replace him. So I don't really fancy him.
Yep, that's absolutely more than fair. As I say, I think it was more of a tenuous link between the fact that Ben Roberts, I don't even know if he's still at Chelsea, but obviously there was a link there. Ben Roberts, a fantastic goalkeeper coach in his own right. Now, I believe, Maxwell, Dagan would like to ask you a question about another Brighton target.
Shoot.
Maxwell, there've been some like less noisy Chelsea links to Mohamed Kudus, and there's a lot of speculation with Brighton that perhaps his transfer is dependent upon us having the big funds come in from Caicedo. So for us, that could be the silver lining of losing Caicedo. Whoa, hey, could be could be getting a player of Kudus' caliber. What's your experience with Kudus, and what are your thoughts on him possibly landing at one of our two clubs in the fit?
He's a good player, really. He's a good player. He did well at the World Cup. I can't say I've watched him quite a lot, but he wouldn't be the first name that I would want in my midfield, and not as a disservice for me. I think I am the Chelsea fan who is transitioning from the days when we used to go out and buy world class players and slot them into the team, and then now we are switching to young talent. So I guess if he's linked to Brighton, and looking at Brighton's recent track record with like young talents and knowing exactly what they can become, then I would be excited for both of us. If I can trust our homework, at least I can trust you guys' homework.
That is
Right, we've got two teachers on the podcast, Tom and Dagan, both teachers. Now, it's not very good, is it, guys, to copy someone else's homework, is it?
No, use ChatGPT. It's easier. I mean, don't use. I mean, no, don't do that. Do it yourself. Do your own homework.
Yeah.
But no, I think Brighton's that's a kudos to us because I think Brighton's scouting system has been exceptional over the last
you could
season.
say kudos on finding Kudus.
Yeah.
It was coming. I knew it was coming. I saw it a mile away.
That was beautiful.
It's an embarrassing place to be, Maxwell. I'm really sorry you had to see that.
So sorry.
I'll give him the same rating he gave Brighton's home kit for that joke. 4 out of 10.
Thanks, bud. Really appreciate that.
Decent. So Maxwell, just before we sort of start wrapping up the show, what would be a successful season for Chelsea? And I know a successful season for Chelsea next season would be Premier League title, Champions League. But what do you think is a successful but realistic achievement for Chelsea next season?
To not let Brighton beat them twice.
It's kind of turning into a rivalry. There's a little bit of I know, speaking on behalf of my Chelsea fans, we don't quite like Brighton right now, but realistic target for Chelsea this season, I would, again, it hinges on what happens with Caicedo, number one. Also hinges on what happens in a few of the other positions, but I would say at least getting back into the top 6, top 8 by the list. I think Chelsea has got the chance to qualify for the Champions League if they come out 5th this season. So that would be a somewhat realistic target for me this year, especially also that we only have one game a week for most of the season.
And I think that will be a really key factor that perhaps we will find out to our detriment this season. Because I'm going to ask you the same question, Joe. I know we'll probably talk about this more specifically as the season is rolling. But, off the bat, I know that there's still a lot of transfers in and outs that could be happening, but what do you think, Joe, is a realistic sort of goal for Brighton this season, both domestically and in Europe?
Yeah, I have full trust in the club that we're going to go into this season very well prepared. Roberto De Zerbi has said it many times last season. If we want to be competing in Europe, we have to fill these gaps. We have to bridge these moments that haven't quite gone for us. And I think the board are very aware and will bridge those gaps. Domestically, anywhere between 12th and 8th, I think would be successful, in view that we do quite well in Europe. If we go through to the quarterfinals and give it a really good go, then I think that would go down as a really, really good season for us.
Hard to agree. Dagan, same question.
Tom. No result on the positive side would surprise me for Brighton this year. If we win a trophy this year, I would not be surprised. Whether that comes in one of the cups, whether it comes in Europe, I'm going to say it out loud, whether it comes in winning the whole league, it wouldn't shock me. I think our trajectory is close. When you look back at how we played last year, we were as good as any team in the league on a given day. And if we just cleaned up our performances against the teams in the bottom half, we'd have been sitting a lot higher than 6th. I'll reinforce that with some data, as you know I like to do. In the entire time of Tony Bloom, excluding promotion seasons, Brighton has only once dropped in place from one year to the next by more than 2 spots. Only once. There was one year we had a 14-place drop. I think we were down in the championship maybe then. But other than that, we've never dropped by more than 2 spots, and we've averaged a move upward by about 2.5 to 3 places. And so if you imagine we'll fall somewhere between our average and our worst, right? That puts us somewhere between 3rd or 4th and 8th. And I think that's probably where we'll land, in that window. Everything we know about Tony Bloom and Brighton suggests that'll be the case. There's nothing to make me think we would be outside of that. So for all those that chuckle about, what, you can't talk about Chelsea and Brighton in the same breath because of the history. The history is the history. It's undeniable the success that Chelsea's had and the trophies that they've won. But right now, we're peers competing very much on the same level. I think that's a hard pill for Chelsea fans to swallow. I think it's a little bit of a hard and weird, like unnatural pill for Brighton fans to swallow. But I really think it's true. We're doing business. We're being talked about in the same breath with the same prospects. We're not being talked about with the $100 million players, but with the $40 million players, it seems we're in that battle. If you look at the giant spreadsheet I've created, you see overlap between all of the top clubs in the world, Champions League clubs. I don't think Tony Bloom is doing this to have us be just okay. I really think the plan is to make us a top club and doing it in a way that's very different. Yes, we're going to sell players. We have to sell players so we can buy more players and build them up. But it's interesting that Chelsea is the only team in the Premier League that has a younger roster than we do at this point. So they may have seen some wisdom in the way that we're building and realize that a sustainable way to build is get a bunch of good young talent. And then from that, you can pick, who do we keep? Who do we sell? Who do we keep? Who do we sell? And you repeat. So I'm incredibly, it was a long answer to say I'm incredibly optimistic about this year.
Do you know what, Dagan? I bloody love you. Giving us hope that we can win the Premier League. No one has ever done that before. Not even the most craziest Brighton fan has ever said, yeah, we could win the league. But then here comes Dagan, the legend from the US of A, going, yeah, why not? I'm like, I just love it.
Somewhere Aaron's going, what the hell are you on about? Yeah. But no, I think that's the optimism that we just love about, many of our American contingent. I think that just, encapsulated by what America is, just a sea of optimism. And as British people, we're like, oh no, Chelsea again.
We do well not to get relegated.
Yeah, we just finished in the top 6. Ooh, as long as we stay up, it's fine. But no, I think you are right, Dagan. You are right. And I think, as Michael's put in the comment section here, a full pre-season with De Zerbi as well. You've got to remember that De Zerbi didn't get a full pre-season last season. He came in, had 2 weeks with them because of a lot of wider context around, the Queen and what have you. A full pre-season, brand new players that he wants to go out and buy. And Tony Bloom basically saying, okay, that's incredibly exciting. And I do think it's going to be a season to remember no matter what happens. So there you have it, guys. Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Thank you.
There you have it, guys. Brighton are going to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Good night.
If they don't, you can send Dagan your messages on Twitter at American Seagull.
Maxwell didn't offer a counterpoint, so he's totally in agreement.
Yeah, Maxwell. Yeah, you're right. Max. You know what?
Maxwell is a seagull, confirmed.
Hey.
I'll give Dagan the benefit of doubt on this one.
Can I just say to the guys watching, if you want to go and follow Maxwell, it's is it Maxwell _ the gist. He does great work, always tweeting such good stuff about football, and we've had a lot of good sort of conversations over the last year, ever since the whole Enoch and Wepu thing, and it's been great to have you on here as well, Maxwell. So thanks for coming on, mate, and keep up all the good work.
Yeah, thank you, Maxwell.
Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure.
Really enjoyed your thoughts, Maxwell. I have to.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to share these thoughts with the wider fan base as well. And because I know, especially at the moment, Twitter is a bit of a toxic belace between Chelsea fans and Brighton fans. It's actually quite nice to have quite a civilized conversation, without it coming to blows. So thank you.
Sort of feels like we should hurl some abuse at you, Maxwell. No, I'm joking.
No, that's not how we do things on this podcast.
No, after this podcast, I'll become a half and half honorary seagull.
Thank you, Maxwell. That's all we needed to hear. Thank you ever so much, guys, for joining us this evening. If you are watching this back via YouTube, or you listen to it back via Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts from, don't forget to let us know your thoughts on the brand new home shirt, which seems like forever ago we chatted about that. Let us know your thoughts, in the comment section down below. At us on Twitter as well to let us know what you think of the new home shirt. Let us know about what you think in regards to Caicedo and Colwill and all the other magnitude of things that are happening in this pre-season. But it won't be long until we are back. We kick things off in the summer series very, very soon. And then soon, before you know it, the Premier League will return. And we'll be back with our amazing content on a weekly basis. But in the meantime, guys, wherever you may be, whenever you may be, we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.